This is our religious couple, my parents, Dr. Kimmels. How did you two first meet? Was it at a random place or were you set up?
It was random. We happened to meet at Hillel at Penn in the dining room. I came in for the first time. I hadn't been at Hillel dining for 2 years as I'd been off campus, but I came back in because I was studying for my MCATs. I didn't want to have to cook and share in the duties at the house where I was staying. So I came back in, and Lauren was looking for somebody else.
So this is what happened.
So she came over to me and introduced herself.
So what happened was my friend Josie had seen this new guy who was tall with curly hair, and she thought he was kind of cute, and his name was Ephraim. And she wanted me to check him out and see what I thought. So she said, go find this guy who's tall with curly hair, whose name is Ephraim. He's a transfer student, and see what you think. So I saw Dad, and he was tall, and he had curly hair, so I went over to him and I said to him, are you a transfer student? And he says, no, I happen to be a second semester junior. I am only on the meal plan so that I can study for my MCATs. And me, I was a freshman, this happy-go-lucky thing. And I was pre-med, but I just figured I'd get into medical school and it wasn't a big deal. So I was like, MCATs? What the heck are MCATs? So he blew me off. And I went in search of Ephraim. Who turned out to be gay.
When did you know that you were going to get married?
Well, I knew before she did, that's for sure. After that, I wanted to ask her out. I thought she was very cute. And
I was cute.
She was. She was very special, and she still is. And so what I did was, one day she was walking past me on Locust Walk, on the main walk in the school. And I was with my prior roommate from the year before. We had gone separately, but we were still friendly, and we were talking on the walk, and she walked by us, and he looked at her, and I looked at him, and I said, I'm going to marry that girl.
And he did.
Were you ever in a previous relationship where you thought that the other would be the one you would spend the rest of your life with?
No.
No.
Were you pressured by your parents to get married?
Quite the opposite.
Well, you have to understand that
we were very young.
We were young. I met Daddy, he took me out for my 19th birthday. And I was a freshman in college, and I was pre-med, and I had a long road of study ahead of me. And Daddy was a junior in college, and he also had a long road ahead of me. And when my father found out that I had a serious boyfriend, his answer was, your job right now is to study. And I think that they finally stopped objecting to us getting married because they figured we'd spend more time studying if we were together than if we weren't.
At what moment in your relationship did you decide to get married?
Well, we were together for a while. I think that right in February after let's go Valentine's Day, right? When I took you out for your birthday. We were going together for a while, and then we split up for the summer. And then we came back after the summer, and we were in the same building.
We lived in the same dormitory. We lived in these high-rises. And
right.
I think one of the reasons we started dating exclusively was more because I didn't want Daddy to see me dating anybody else, and he didn't want me to see him dating anybody else, so we just dated each other. And then before you knew it...
That was more of a convenience thing, but I think that during the summer when I was away from you, I missed you a lot. And I had felt that way about you from the very beginning, and nothing over the few months that we'd been together in school changed any of what I thought, and I just knew I loved you at that point.
And then I remember the first Shabbos back at school after the summer, Daddy and I were both working on New Student Week, and the first Shabbat that everybody came home back to school, we were greeting all our friends and hugs and kisses and how was your summer? And I guess Daddy was not happy with how many of the guys were giving me hugs and kisses, and he picked me up and he said, she's mine. And that sort of made our relationship public.
What is your secret for making your marriage work? Does it just happen, or does it take a lot of work and effort?
I think Daddy works harder at it than I do.
Sure you do. You work very hard. And it definitely takes a lot of give and take, and it's a lot of work. There's nothing easy about being married. And you have to have a commitment to each other and agree that no matter what, the two of you and your unit, that's the most important thing.
I think one of the
And you
most...
always have to be willing to talk about it.
I think one of the most important things, in fact, when your brother was thinking of getting married, we took him aside and we said, you have to talk things over and be sure that you want the same things in life. For example, if you want to have children and she doesn't ever want to have children, don't marry her and think you're going to change her mind. Don't marry somebody and then think you're going to change them. And Daddy and I were kids when we got married, and we really grew up together. And we had a lot of support from our families.
That helped. That really made a big difference.
That helped a lot. Grandpa Archie, my grandfather, really liked Daddy, and he was very supportive. And our parents really helped us. We did not have to worry about money. When we were married, when we were in medical school, our parents got together and they decided how much they would each contribute to our support.
Just as we're doing for Joseph and Lizzie, so that they shouldn't have to worry about those types of issues, and it makes it a lot easier. It takes a lot of the strain off of the marriage. But certainly it's not an easy thing, especially if there are financial issues going on and it becomes a problem. But
and when you look to marry somebody, especially when you're young, you have to look at their families and you have to look at their parents. And did this person grow up in a family where both their parents were married to each other and living in the same house? Did they have a good example of what a marriage should be? Because that's really important.
I know my parents would fight, but they would always be together. They'd always work things out. And it's not, we never tried to hide any of our fights from any of you. We always fought openly, because you have to see that that's what it is. You have to be able to talk and communicate and fight and make up and work things out, because if you can't work things out, then you have a problem.
I remember
the same thing with the financial issues. That's puts an extra stress, but if you can work it out together, it doesn't matter.
I remember once my parents were having a fight, and I said to my mother, can't you go fight in another room? Why do you have to fight here in front of us? And she said, it's very important that children see their parents fight, because you shouldn't grow up thinking that everybody should agree on everything and that it's not okay to disagree with your spouse.
What is the difference between the efforts that you put into the relationships in the early days of your marriage compared to now?
Well, the early days, the very early days, were very difficult.
It was hard. Being married for the first time.
I almost won my dinner once or twice.
Yes. Daddy married me. He said, let's get married. You cook and I'll clean. And I thought that was a great deal, because I love to cook, but I hated to clean. And then we got married and he said, no, I meant you cook and I'll wash the dishes. And then he said, no, that meant I'll cook, you cook, and I'll clean my plate. And one night I had made dinner, I made spaghetti and meatballs, and we had both been at work all day, and Daddy said, that was delicious. I'm too tired to do the dishes. So I said, then you'll wear them. And I took that dish, and I took that sauce, and I smeared it on him. And then he took the sauce, and he smeared it on me. And just then the doorbell rang, and it was Daddy's parents. And they had popped in to bring us some wedding gifts that had been dropped off at their house.
Without calling in advance and telling us they were coming.
So that was the
last time they did that.
The last time they ever dropped in unannounced. But did they say, you come home to Mama? No, they took him downstairs and they gave him a talking to on why he had to be nice to his wife.
They said, you married her, you have to be good to her. You have to work it out with her. And that's what we did.
One thing is, you have to really try to make the other person happy. And you say, what will make this person happy? And I know that what makes Daddy happy is a good supper. And he'll